And we're joined by the president of hockey operations of the Calgary Flames. Brian Burke is with us. You look beautiful, Burkie. How are you? Okay.
Good.
You'd rather your hockey team was still playing, but that didn't work out.
I'd rather we're still playing, but that didn't work out.
But I tell you what, I'm happy that you got your general manager signed. Well done.
Thank you.
What the hell took you so long?
Well, it was not a problem with Brad. This is the Calgary Flames have always done management coaching contracts after the season. That was made clear to him last summer.
Yeah.
It wasn't a problem. He wasn't, bitching about it or complaining about it. And so we got through our player exit meetings and all the stuff we had to do, and then we sat down with him, and I sat down with him and Ken King, and we had one session, and Ken met with him over the weekend and wrapped things up. He's happy. We're happy. If you look at the report card, when you grade a GM, there are certain criteria that you can look at, and they like here, I brought my little list here: drafts, trades, free agent signings, key hires, including the coach. We have a new coaching staff that's done a good job. Culture, media, community service, corporate support.
Wow,
And
he's above a B on all those.
Yeah, he's getting A's for most of those. So he's really good with the media. His drafts have been excellent. His trades have been good. Free agent signing, couple home runs, couple strikeouts, but that's I signed off on them all, so I'll take part of the blame for that. And the coaching hire was a major hire. This guy's a hell of a coach.
And I tell you what, should have got some Coach of the Year votes. I'm sure he did, but he should. Yeah. I think he should be one of the finalists. So,
do you find, Brian, you've held that chair before, that as a general manager, is it challenging to attract players if you're on the final year of your contract? Players might say to themselves, well, do I want to come in? I'm not sure if this general manager is still going to be there. He's in his last year. I don't want to be just seen as one of his guys if he's going to be gone. You think that's a mitigating issue when you let a GM go right to the end of his contract?
Well, we signed Chad Johnson as a free agent. I don't think that came up, but that was a one-year deal, so it wouldn't have mattered. We signed Troy Brouwer, and I don't think it came up. We signed Chris Versteeg, and that didn't come up. I think it was a one-year deal. I think Brouwer might have raised it, but we reassured the players that did ask. I think Troy Brouwer might have. Look, it's a formality. We believe that we'll get this done. So, like I say, we're happy. Tree's happy, and he deserves this. This is not something that ownership bestowed upon him and said, "Here, this is something that he earned." I think, and I think Ken puts value on stability and continuity, and Ken's the big boss. So we're all happy.
Help me with something, because it's been a while since you and I talked. Give me your job description. Because I've never been clear as to exactly how you fit into the organization, exactly.
Well, neither am I.
So, in other words, you can't answer the question.
I can answer the question.
Well, okay. So I'm just curious.
Okay. So my job, first off, there are only a few teams that have this setup.
Yeah.
In all of sports. I believe that more and more will come to it. But the number one thing is I spent hours and hours and hours as a GM doing corporate support.
Yep.
Talking to season ticket holders, meeting with suite holders who are up for renewal, doing the community service stuff in the community. I try to do all of that for Tree. He still does his share, but I'm trying to take 75% of that off his plate. So That's one thing. And to have someone who's credible and can speak to the marketplace credibly, I think is important. Second, Tree and I talk a couple times every day. What do you got going? What do you think we need? What are you working on trade-wise? Talk about the farm team. I still scout. I'll still go look at players.
I was going to ask you. You do, huh?
Yeah, it's my favorite part of the job.
Yeah,
I really love
says that.
Yeah, it's the best part of the job. So I still scout. I watch the farm team play, so that saves Tree a trip to Stockton. So I meet with Ken and John Bean, who run the business side of things, and Ken's the boss of the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And so it's a full day. I'm still often the first one in the office and still often the last one to leave.
Are you involved in the arena conversations? Because I know they've been contentious the last while.
Tangentially. I mean, I would say no, to be truthful, but do I talk to Ken about it or John Bean about it? Yeah, a little bit, but no. Am I involved on the negotiations themselves? No.
So to the point of president of hockey operations, as someone who has been in this league a long time now, and then people probably
30 years this year.
30?
Yep.
Wow.
Last May of '87 was when I started with Vancouver.
With Pat. So you get phone calls from other organizations asking and seeking your advice on people and on process and on org charts. Is this something you'd recommend to people that there should be a president of hockey operations?
Well, what it does, I mean, I think the single biggest thing it does, and the reason they brought me in, is it increases the depth and width of the pool that you can hire from for a GM. You can bring in a green guy. Like we brought in Brad Treleving. He's the only GM we interviewed. He's green as hell. Never been a GM before. Great experience with Donnie Maloney in Phoenix, but until you're driving that bus, you have no idea the responsibility that comes with it and the loneliness that comes with it. So having a gray-haired guy sitting behind you means you can hire a rookie. You could take a guy out of uniform, in theory, like a Stevie Yzerman at the end of his playing career, and say, okay, you're gonna learn on the job. You couldn't do that without this setup. So I think it makes sense just on that basis alone. I think it makes sense in terms of the shared workload, in terms of what you can take off the GM's plate, and if you have a genuine admiration and friendship with the guy like I do with Tree, I really admire him.
The reason I ask is because, and I'm not putting words in your mouth about it, is that this is exactly the issue that they have in Buffalo. I know you work for another club. You shouldn't have to comment. This is the process they need to create in Buffalo to save the owners from themselves.
That's exactly what I said yesterday.
Well, first off, I'm not going to comment on what
I don't expect you to.
No, but I talked to, there are a lot of owners who have called me for advice over the years from teams I didn't work for.
Mm-hmm.
What would you think about this? What would you do about that? So I was flattered to get a call like that. I always feel that someone who owns a team in our league that has enough confidence in me to call me, I'm going to give them a truthful answer if I can. In general, not talking about Buffalo, in general, this allows a team to hire a rookie GM, a guy that's maybe been an assistant GM but never driven the bus. And I'm telling you, I was a rookie GM in Hartford in 92. I was 37 years old. And I remember I made my first big deal with Lou Lamoriello. I traded, I got Sean Burke and Eric Weinrich for Patrick Sundstrom. Great trade for both teams. And I picked up the phone and put it down, or it might have been Bobby Holik. Sorry, it might have been Bobby Holik. I picked up the phone, started to dial Lou's number, and then put it down. Picked it up, dialed a second, and then I went for a walk around the arena, and then I said, get some hair on your chest. Let's go here. And picked up the phone and made the deal. The loneliness that comes with it, and you know, when you're assistant GM, you think I was the best assistant GM ever, right? That's what I thought.
Well,
I'm sure it's a joke.
When you can walk into that office with that guy.
And so I'm like, I'm helping Pat so much. And then I became a GM at Hartford, and I realized the assistant GM, he can help with the workload, but he doesn't help with the pressure at all. At all. You're the one who's getting fired if this thing goes south. The GM is standing right in front of the firing squad if it goes south. And that's the environment he operates in.
So in that context, phone rings, Brian, we want you to be our GM. Would you go back?
In Calgary?
No, somewhere else.
No, I love Calgary. I feel the silver lining in getting fired here in Toronto was that I got to work in Calgary. And I remember waiting for a C train. Pat and I were in the 88 Olympics in Vancouver, or in Calgary. And I remember standing on the train platform. It was one of those great Calgary days. You could see the mountains. And I said to Pat, boy, I'd love to work here someday. And he said it would be a treat if you get a chance to work here. What a great city. And here I am. So, no, I love it there. I love, we got 5 owners. They're local guys. They're good guys. I like my boss. I like our setup. And I like the way our team is going. So, no, I'm staying put.
But you don't long for the days when you had the responsibility.
No, what you lose, and I've talked to Dean Lombardi about this. I've talked to Kenny Holland about this. As you get to about age 60, the grunt parts of the job, the haggling with agents, I like to scout, but on a given night, if I'm driving a Red Deer and it's snowing like hell, I'm not going. And guess what I did? Guess what I did back in the day?
You'd keep going.
I would get there at the end of the first period if I had to because the weather was so bad. So you lose some of the grunt parts of the job. You keep the proper level of control. Right. You still have a lot to say. I think it's the right job for me at this point.
Sounds like being a grandparent.
And it allows me to accommodate my family schedule here in Toronto.
Yeah. Merrick, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, let me ask you about, I'm interested in your comments about scouting, Brian. We may see the first ever Swiss-born player selected first overall, Nico Hischier of the Halifax Mooseheads. Do you see, or have you seen a trend or a pattern whereby there is a new, and maybe the answer is Switzerland, hockey power? And once upon a time, you and I talked about Germany, strong athletic people. Do you see the sort of rise of any new hockey powers, specifically in Europe?
Well, over the last 10 years, the country that has made the greatest strides, no question in my mind, is Switzerland. And not just in the number of players they're producing, but the quality of players. I think they have a smart export rule where they force teams to play Swiss players. I think it's 8 or 10 passports, EU passports in Germany. and you're eligible for one after you've been there 2 years. So they've got as many as 10 Canadians on some teams. The Swiss force the Swiss teams to play Swiss players. I think they've been the most growth. I think you've seen growth in lots of the satellite countries, if you will, in Norway and Denmark. Had a great world championship a couple years ago. So the sport's growing massively. But if I had to give a report card to one country that's taken the biggest strides, I would say it's the Swiss.
There's still development in Europe to go, though, right?
Oh, yeah. And like Germany, I thought about 10 years ago, we was in Toronto, we did a friendship agreement with Mannheim, and I thought we're on the verge of Germany putting 5 to 6 players into the NHL every year, and that hasn't happened. So it maybe stalled a bit there. But I remember one of the owner of Mannheim saying to me, you understand the math here. He said, in a country the size of Ohio and Indiana combined, there are 90 million people, and they're athletic. And, the density here is we have to invest in it. So
China is investing, as you guys well know, like crazy in hockey. How quick could China come together?
Well, I think I think Charles Wong did some development there going back 10 years ago in one of the northern provinces, I think in Harbin. I think the Islanders did a bunch of stuff there. So who knows? I don't know where they are in rink construction and equipment and the rest of it, but they've come so fast and everything else they've been dedicated to that who knows?
Well, the eyeballs are there to watch NHL hockey.
Yep.
That much we know.
Yep.
So there's a level of interest. Whether it translates into participation remains to be seen. But you have to think at some point there'll be some kind of a breakthrough.
Be remiss not asking about what you thought of the Crosby hit last night.
Well, I saw it like everybody else. I probably only saw it 60 times.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it again in super slow-mo.
Want to see it again? We'll show it to you.
My first reaction was, well, I love Sid, so it's unfortunate, but my first reaction was that's a hockey play. I think it was a hockey hit. I don't know if he was dazed when Ovechkin's stick got him, but even there, I don't think Ovi was going for his head either. So this is what happens in our game, and I hope he's not hurt seriously. I hear he's missing the next game. But I thought it was a hockey play.
Does anybody disagree?
This group agrees. So
yeah,
we're kind of on that same page. I actually think they overpenalized Niskanen on the play too. I wouldn't have done the 5 in the game, but
I have no. And I saw they huddled on that. I had no problem with 5 in a game. I had no problem with 2. To me, I thought it looked like a 2 when I saw it the first time, but then he huddled with his guys, which he's supposed to do. And someone said he must have got him pretty good. And they took it to a 5, which I didn't have a problem with, but I think that's where it should end.
Management call, game management. This thing could explode if we don't give him something.
Yeah, but Matty Niskanen, I've had him on U.S. teams. He can take care of himself. If they'd have kept him in the game, that wouldn't have been it might have turned into a circus, but there was no risk of this player, taking a beating. He's a pretty tough kid.
Brian Burke called us all names, by the way, when he was walking in.
Oh, I'm sure he did. It was not the first time.
He was listening to our discussion in the first segment, which was kind of all over the map. But let me phrase it this way. I know you like the game the way it is. I know you are a hockey lifer traditionalist. But if you had the power to change one thing and one thing only, do you know what that would be?
Yes.
Unquestionably.
Yes.
Tell us.
Play fewer games.
Okay, explain. I agree.
I think we play too many games.
Yeah.
I have felt this way, by the way. Gary Bettman, my first week on the job back in 1993, said to me, what's one thing I can do to make this game dramatically better? And you can sleep on it. I don't want an answer right now. I said, I can tell you right now. He said, what? I said, play fewer games. I think we have to get to a 70-game schedule somehow. I think the demands on the players are too great. It's something that would have to be collectively bargained because there would be obviously a large loss of revenue. And I don't say this lightly on a show like this. This is, people are watching this show. I think that's the single biggest thing. Rule change-wise, the biggest single thing I'd like to do is I'd like to increase the width of the rink 5 feet.
So the Finnish system.
They're a little more than 5, but
okay.
The BU system. Boston University is a hybrid rink.
Okay.
So the NHL is 85 feet wide. International is 100 feet wide, which is way too wide. Some hybrid between, I think, 90 or 91 feet. I'm usually alone on all these things that I think are important.
Yeah.
Thank God Kenny Holland's with me on the wider ice, so it has a chance. All the stuff people look at me and roll their eyes when I say we got to make
when
the ice
Kenny
wider.
says it,
Kenny
he's
says
a genius.
Well, no, I'm not, because I agree with you. I don't know what the exact measurements are. I don't know what.
If you go to Boston,
yeah,
and you watch a
I was
game
just
of
there on the weekend,
Boston College,
yeah,
on an international ice surface, it's too big. There's no hitting. you can shovel the puck in the corner and it'll be out of trouble for
Gotcha.
3 minutes. You go to a game at BU and it is exciting.
Yeah.
And the extra 5 feet lets them do a little more offensively. That's what I'd like to do. And by the way, Detroit Red Wings, new arena, will accommodate a 90-foot.
Right now, there's only one
At
other
least
arena.
theoretically, right.
Right now, there's only one other arena in the NHL that can accommodate that.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that's the Saddle Dome.
Yep.
That's the big one, right? Did the NHL miss it not saying, hey, new rink coming in, whether it's nationwide or wherever, make sure you can accommodate quickly if we need to widen the
No,
rink.
the retrofit
Quick
costs. Okay, the retrofit costs about 7 times what the initial investment would be to simply extend the floor 5 or 6 feet.
Yeah. We got to get out of here. Music's playing. The crowd is dancing. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Always,
Thanks for having me
Always
on.
good to have you in here. You're welcome anytime you're in town. And I
Don't
know
say
you're here
that.
a lot.
He'll be down at security trying to get in every day. Won't let him in.
That was
but
a
it's-
pleasant experience, by the way.
Oh,
I didn't
yeah?
know cavity searches were part of getting into there.
Yeah, wait till you try and get out.